Hello and welcome to Quantum Leaders CEO Insight, where we take the living organization perspective to view some of the most critical challenges organizations are facing today from the CEO perspective. So today I want to talk to you about sales. Very pragmatic topic. How do we increase our sales on a consistent basis? How do we create systems and the right mindset for outbound sales? I work with a number of CEOs who have already established companies, and they recognize that environment have shifted today, and what they want to create is a much more customer focused, much more proactive sales environment. Specifically talking about digital sales. How do we take advantage of all the social media, digital tools, Zoom, etc., video conferencing to start really looking at addressing new market opportunities, refocusing our sales staff to create a much more proactive approach in terms of their sales. So let's talk about briefly what does it involve. Well, first of all, of course, we always start in a living organization with the mindset, the context, the story we have around this. Very often, when we look at more mature organizations, in some respect, they became a little bit lazy in terms of chasing for new business. Why? Because for years they had either referrals or some other way of generating customers, and so the salespeople typically became an inbound focused salespeople. To be specific, they're very good at explaining what the products and services they have, but they're not going to be chasing customers or not actively nurturing new customer relationships like some other companies do who did not have that experience and maybe were just born and they were forced to create that outbound sales muscle. So first of all, we need to shift the mindset of the sales organization to, it is important, why it's important for us to actually proactively start finding new relationships, nurturing them so that eventually they come into our and become our long-term clients. And the focus is always, of course, for me, is on building lifelong customer relationships. It's not a short-term. I work for many software companies and engineering, tech companies, bio companies, health and services, etc. And the pattern is the same. Even the industry changes, but what happens is a lot of the salespeople become very comfortable in their role and almost see outbound sales as a dirty business, like a used car salesman business. And I had to reframe the mindset of the senior salespeople to show them that, first of all, when you're reaching out to customer, it is not a dirty used car salesman approach. You are reaching out to listen to their problems, not necessarily to provide them solutions or sell them something they don't want, which is the fear mostly in your mind is, oh my God, I'm going to be one of those telemarketing people, and yet I'm a very highly qualified sales engineer. No, you won't be, and this is what I had to say a lot to the salesman. You've taken an approach that you're an educator and you listen for problems and you genuinely listen for customers' problem. And then if you do have a solution, you present the solution and with no attachment. If they're interested, then you continue further in the process. But if not, not a problem at all. You are there to support them. You're there to educate. You're there to provide service to your client, not to sell them something they don't want. And typically, a lot of sales engineers actually tend to eventually enjoy this kind of a educational sales, consultative sales approach. So I've had many successes with that, first of all, in terms of mindset. Secondly, and that's very important, is even if you have that shift in mindset, but you don't have the sales support infrastructure, you will have problems. Because what typically happens, even if it's a good salesperson, they will start chasing business, and obviously they will get a lot of no's, 100 no's to 1 yes, and that's negative cycle very quickly puts them off their cold calling kind of a process. Now it doesn't have to be calling; it could be through email or LinkedIn or whatever it is. So what's important, and this is the system I've been developing for the last 5 years, is to create a very robust lead generation system. Now, I started doing it myself, literally with my own, really going through what a sales support person would go through, because I wanted to understand LinkedIn in all of its details. And there is a lot of tricks and of the trade, if you like, and a lot of wisdom in terms of how you generate leads. I've created now a sales system that continuously generate good leads. I'm not saying they're hot leads, but they will generate warm leads based on a very clear targeting criteria. And this is the first thing I do is with organizations is really identify who are the customers, what do they need, what are the typical psychographics, demographics of a customer, so that we don't waste time putting into your funnel customers that will never eventuate into a conversion process. So we create that sales targeting criteria that takes a little while, because you really want to home in on that, on the titles, who are the people, how senior they are in organizations, etc. Then we develop profiles of those targets on LinkedIn using different filters and so on. There is a lot of filters that you can use on Sales Navigator as a tool. And then we run a trial process. I'd set it up as a system for a couple of people within your sales force. They experience the power of lead generation through LinkedIn, and then we systematize it. We also make sure that we have the right CRM system, and I have a whole support team then generating leads for this person weekly. We're talking about weekly appointments, not just leads, sending them so that they go and chase those people, because very often a lot of these sales companies who are, you see on LinkedIn, they will send you a lead, but then you're going to have to chase them for weeks to get an appointment. No, what we were creating is a very solid system where you get actual appointments for salespeople. And then they can turn up, and then they can start the conversation I was talking about, which is, what are your challenges, how you're addressing them. Could I possibly in the future work with you on addressing these challenges? It's a very gentle approach. It's a relationship building approach. We don't sell them as such in the first session. We try to get to know them and to build a relationship. Now what happens is then they go into a CRM system, and very often it's just either, yes, it's great to know you, but it's not the right timing. As you know, it's always about timing in their selling cycle. And so what you then do is you develop a content marketing program where you nurture those leads with articles, blogs, pieces of information, webinars, and so on, and just staying in touch on a regular basis until the customer is then ready to have a more serious conversation with you. That is how it works. It is a lot of management. But if you do it consistently, what you will build is a whole new sales funnels of new leads that are already been, if you like, warmed up or pre-screened by a more junior salesperson. And then if it's a really large sale, then maybe it's a more senior salesperson coming, or maybe it's a whole team sales approach. But what you have now is a whole funnel of new potential prospects, right? Or what we call it, from suspect to prospect to a potential client, right? That's a whole system. I'd be happy to speak to you individually how, of course, it will work for you, because every company is different. But if you're interested, we could have a session, and I'll explain to you how we could potentially design such a sales system, both at the digital lead generation and shifting the whole mindset and the whole approach of how you deal with sales for your sales staff. Thank you so much. Feel free to direct message me, and please share if you feel this is a valuable information for you. And we will speak to you soon.